Hey, it's Tuesday, and today's question is, I have tried to access resources supposedly to help people who are eating disordered, but have found many triggering or unhelpful. Where can I find information and resources which will help, encourage, and inspire me? I think this is a question that is fairly common, and I think it's a good one to ask. It's hard for me to know exactly what kind of resources you are referring to. There were some kinds that I thought of. The first one's more medical, maybe inpatient therapy, eating disorder support groups. Ariel, I believe, a couple weeks ago did a great video on how to deal with an eating disorder support group being triggering, and perhaps if I can find that, I will post a link on the side. And in terms of inpatient and eating disorder support groups, it can be difficult because there are sometimes people there who aren't fully dedicated to recovery. It's really difficult, but sometimes you have to remind yourself, I'm here because I want to get better. They might be here for a different reason, but I'm here because I want to get better. If therapy is triggering to you, therapy by nature is triggering because you're discussing a lot of the issues that really underlie the eating disorder. I mean, the things about an eating disorder is eating is a way of coping with something that has happened in your life. So if you get to the heart of the issue, it is going to be really difficult. And if that's triggering to you, then I would suggest talking about that with a professional. Although I think sometimes feeling uncomfortable, vulnerable, that kind of thing is something that you have to go through in order to feel better. I think the internet is probably one of the biggest resources out there. I think it can be one of the best resources out there, but I also think it can be one of the worst. And let me just explain that a little bit. For instance, if you come onto YouTube, We Are Freedom Fighters is a really great channel to see videos of recovery-oriented people. There may be things that are said that are triggering, but I think for the most part, this is a channel really dedicated to recovery and really meant to help. And YouTube's difficult because there are so many people out there who talk about eating disorders in a really unhelpful way. Same with forums and websites. And that is something you should not subject yourself to. I would say definitely stay away from all the pro-ED shit because it's not going to help you get better. Hopefully there will come a point in time when you can realize how ridiculous that stuff is and not be affected by it. But when you're really going out there and trying to get better for the first time, or you're really dedicated to it and you're not quite there yet, you don't need to be looking at that kind of thing. What I would suggest, if you're using a search engine online, or you're looking up even videos to watch or anything, instead of typing in something like eating disorder, anorexia, bulimia, binge eating disorder, EDNOS, type in that title with the word recovery. So I think you'll get a lot of results for eating disorder recovery that are more appropriate. For instance, I went onto Google, tried this myself, and typed in eating disorder recovery, and I found some websites which I knew about that popped up within the first 5 search results that seem pretty genuinely useful and well-intended for eating disorder recovery, and I will also put those links on the side. I also really do believe that overcoming triggers is part of recovery. This doesn't mean that you should as I said before, subject yourself to pro-anasites, or subject yourself to a book that's not particularly about how to recover. And part of recovery is learning to start thinking normally about food. Unlike certain other addictions, it's not like you're learning how to stay away from it, because in order to stay away from an eating disorder, well, you need to learn how to eat. And I mean, that in and of itself is very, very tricky. Changing your response to triggers takes a lot of time, but I do think that it is the ultimate goal. There sometimes are things out there like groups, like therapy, informational pamphlets, websites, books, that may be of great utility. They may help you a lot, and I think it's important to learn how to overcome those triggers, or to say to yourself, just like, you know, selective hearing, selective reading, selective comprehension. I mean, if something's triggering, it might be there as an honest mistake, and you have to be the big person to say to yourself, I'm going to take what I can out of this that is going to be useful to me. I also think that if everything seems so triggering to you, you should really talk to a professional, and you should discuss this kind of thing. Sometimes in the process of recovery, you can't avoid these triggers. There's something that needs to be overcome. They're part of recovery, and it takes a long time, but I know that when I was doing sort of a day program myself after being inpatient, I did a little bit of cognitive behavioral therapy, and I think that can be useful. I think sometimes it just helps to really write out a distorted thought and write out a counterpoint. Challenge yourself to write out a counterpoint. It really sometimes helps to just see it. Sometimes in our minds we don't really challenge what we think, because we take what we think as being truth and fact, and that can lead to things being very triggering.
And in terms of things not being useful, encouraging, or inspiring, it's important to remember that although it can be incredibly frustrating to have to look through pages of information to find one useful point, or to hear hundreds of stories to only find one that is encouraging or inspiring, that one story or one piece of information that does really help you is powerful, and it's important not to underestimate the value of that. I think in terms of usefulness, sometimes therapy is a great way to go, because it can be custom tailored to your own needs and can really help you in a more personal way. And if you ever feel that therapy is not beneficial to you, or that you don't have the right click with your therapist, do not hesitate to let them know, or to seek out help from somewhere else if that is a possibility.
So, I hope this has been somewhat helpful. It's difficult to give a really clear-cut answer, but I will see you all next Tuesday, and I hope you're having a good week. Alright, bye.